She was just a fragile alien girl, until a human risked his life to save her. The midnight discovery. The desert air bit at Darius Jackson's skin as he made his final rounds at the Horizon Research Complex. At 42, with graying temples and calloused hands, he'd spent 15 years maintaining this classified facility without asking questions. The midnight shift suited him. Fewer scientists to avoid, fewer explanations needed for his presence in restricted areas. That night, the security alarms blared just as he was checking the perimeter fence. Red lights pulsed across the compound, but strangely, no security personnel emerged. Darius squinted at the horizon where a streak of light cut across the night sky, disappearing behind the distant ridge. Meteor, he muttered, but his instincts said otherwise. The trajectory was too controlled, too purposeful. Darius checked his watch. His shift ended in 30 minutes, but curiosity pulled stronger than caution. He climbed into his maintenance truck and drove toward the ridge, headlights off, navigating by moonlight. The impact site glowed with an eerie blue luminescence. Steam rose from scorched earth surrounding what looked like a teardrop-shaped vessel, no larger than a small car. Cracks ran along its silvery surface, leaking a phosphorescent fluid. "Hello?" Darius called softly, approaching with a wrench gripped tightly in his hand. "Anyone hurt?" A section of the vessel's hull slid open with a pneumatic hiss. Darius stepped back, heart hammering against his ribs. Inside, curled in a protective position, lay a slender figure. She, and somehow Darius knew it was female, had skin like polished opal, shimmering with subtle color shifts that followed her shallow breathing. Her features were delicate, almost human except for the elongated eyes and the fine feathery filaments instead of hair that rippled with colors from azure to violet. A deep gash across her abdomen leaked silvery fluid. "You're hurt," Darius whispered. Holstering his wrench, the alien's eyes fluttered open, completely black except for pinpricks of light like distant stars. She recoiled, a soft trilling sound escaping her lips. "I'm not going to hurt you," Darius said, raising his hands. He pointed to her wound. "You need help." In the distance, floodlights swept the desert floor. Helicopters thundered overhead. The facility had mobilized its security forces. The alien tried to stand, but collapsed. Her ship sparked and sputtered, clearly beyond repair. Whoever she was, she wouldn't survive the night without help, and Darius knew exactly what would happen if the facility's scientists got their hands on her. "Come with me," he said, making a beckoning gesture. "They'll take you apart if they find you." Something in his eyes must have communicated his intent. The alien hesitated, then extended a six-fingered hand. As their fingers touched, Darius felt a jolt of electricity race up his arm, and suddenly his mind filled with images. A burning world, ships in pursuit, desperate escape. Darius lifted her, carefully. She weighed almost nothing, like holding a child. He wrapped her in his jacket and carried her to his truck, laying her across the back seat. As the security forces converged on the crash site, Darius drove casually toward the facility's main gate, nodding to the guard as he passed through. The alien lay hidden under a tarp, her breathing growing more labored. "Hang on," he whispered, though he wasn't sure she could understand. "I know somewhere safe." In his rearview mirror, flames erupted from the crash site as the alien vessel self-destructed, erasing evidence of its origin. But Darius knew his life had irrevocably changed. By morning, they would realize something. Someone had survived that crash, and he had just made himself an accomplice. Whispers of the cosmos dawn painted the abandoned weather station in hues of orange and gold. 15 miles from the Horizon facility, this concrete bunker had been forgotten after budget cuts 5 years ago. Darius had discovered it during a hiking trip and occasionally used it as a retreat when the isolation of his apartment became too much. The alien lay on a cot, her opalescent skin now dull and ashen. Darius had cleaned her wound with antiseptic, but the silvery fluid continued to seep slowly. Her star-filled eyes opened when he placed a damp cloth on her forehead. "My name is Darius," he said. tapping his chest. "Can you understand me?" She lifted a trembling hand to his temple. Her touch was cool like marble warmed by the sun. Suddenly, Darius felt a presence in his mind, gentle but unmistakable. "Esther," came a voice like wind through crystal chimes. "I am called Esther." Darius nearly fell backward. "You can speak? In my head? Mind to mind. Easier than your sounds." Her mental voice wavered, pursued. "Dangerous. They hunt." "Who's hunting you?" Darius asked aloud, finding it easier than thinking. His responses. Esther's fingers tightened against his temple. Images flooded his consciousness. Massive ships like obsidian shards cutting through space. Tall, armored figures with faces hidden behind reflective masks. Planets stripped of resources, left as hollow husks. Harvesters, her voice whispered. They take, always take. My world, gone. Her hand fell away, breaking the connection. Esther's eyes closed as exhaustion claimed her. Darius's burner phone vibrated. The screen showed a message from Veronica, his only friend at Horizon. Full. Lockdown, everyone questioned, "What did you do?" He quickly typed back, "Nothing, what's happening?" Unknown entity from crash site missing. Military taking over. They're checking everyone's homes. Your name came up. Last to leave facility. Darius glanced at Esther. Her wound seemed to be closing, the edges knitting together with faint luminescence. Whatever she was, her physiology was remarkable. Routine maintenance call last night, home now. Sick, he texted back. 3 dots pulsed as Veronica typed. Director Pierce leading search personally. Never seen him like this. Scary. Pierce. The name made Darius's stomach clench. The facility director rarely emerged from his top-floor office, but when he did, people disappeared. Rumors circulated about his classified projects, experiments that violated every ethical boundary. Darius powered off the phone and removed its battery. He needed to think. The bunker had supplies for a week at most. Esther needed to recover, and they needed a plan. If Pierce wanted her this badly, there was more at stake than just first contact. As dusk approached, Darius heard vehicles on the distant road. Through binoculars, he spotted 3 black SUVs moving slowly, stopping at every structure along the highway. They were being thorough. "Esther," he whispered, gently rousing her. "We need to move deeper into the bunker." Her eyes opened brighter now. "They sense me, my energy signature. Can you mask it somehow?" Esther raised a trembling hand. The air around them shimmered, and a subtle vibration ran through the concrete floor. Temporary, costs strength. Darius helped her to the lower level, a storage area accessed by a rusted ladder. As they descended, a sharp beam of light swept through the bunker's upper windows. They huddled in darkness as footsteps echoed above. Voices called out, equipment beeped and whirred. Darius held Esther close, feeling her slight frame shudder with the effort of maintaining whatever shield she had created. "Nothing here," a voice finally announced. "Move to grid 7. As the vehicles pulled away, Esther released her hold on the shield. She slumped against Darius, exhausted but conscious. "Why help?" Her voice whispered in his mind. "Dangerous for you." Darius didn't have a logical answer. After years of loneliness, of watching the facility's scientists treat life as a puzzle to be dismantled and catalogued, perhaps he simply needed to protect something beautiful. "Because it's right," he said simply. "And because I think you came here for a reason." Esther's star-filled eyes met his. "Yes. Warning. Your world. Next." Hunters in the Shadows 3 days passed in the underground sanctuary. Esther grew stronger, her skin regaining its opalescent glow. She consumed only water and small amounts of fruit, absorbing their essence through her palms rather than eating. Darius watched, fascinated, as she hovered her hands over an apple and the fruit gradually withered while her skin brightened. "Your species?" Darius asked, sitting cross-legged across from her. "What are you called?" "Lumina." Her voice flowed into his mind. children of the first light. Through their mental connection, which strengthened daily, Esther shared glimpses of her homeworld, crystal spires that captured starlight, vast oceans where bioluminescent creatures created underwater auroras, floating islands where her people communed with cosmic energies. All gone now, she added, a wave of sorrow washing through their link. The harvesters came. They seek the essence that flows through evolved worlds. And they're coming here? To Earth? Esther nodded, her star-filled eyes solemn. Already in your system. My people sent warning vessels to inhabited worlds. I am the messenger. Darius ran his hands through his hair. We need to tell someone with authority. No, Esther's mental voice turned sharp. Your director, Pierce, already knows, works with them. What? That's impossible. In answer, Esther placed both hands on his temples. The bunker dissolved. Around them, replaced by a sterile white chamber. Director Pierce stood before a holographic display, nodding as a distorted voice spoke. The specimen is crucial, Pierce was saying. Its biological composition could accelerate the terraforming process by decades. A figure materialized partially, tall, with reflective armor that seemed to absorb light. Find it, the guttural voice demanded. Our scouts report additional vessels approaching. The agreement stands only if you deliver. The vision faded. Darius fell backward, gasping. That was real? Pierce is collaborating with these harvesters? Yes. They offer power, technology. He offers cooperation. And me. But why you specifically? Esther hesitated. I carry something. Knowledge. The collective memory of my people. Ways to fight back. Before Darius could respond, his burner phone, which he'd briefly activated to check news, chimed with a message from Veronica. They tracked your truck via satellite, coming for you. Run. As if on cue, the distant sound of helicopter rotors cut through the desert stillness. We need to move, Darius said, quickly gathering essential supplies. There's a network of mining tunnels that connects to this bunker. We can use them to escape. Esther stood, her movements now fluid and graceful. They have scanners. We'll detect my energy. Can you mask it again? Not for long journeys. But she approached Darius and placed her hand over his heart. A warm sensation spread through his chest, followed by a tingling that raced along his nerves. Bond of protection, she explained. Our energies intertwined. They will read us as one signature, human. The intimacy of the connection caught Darius off guard. He could feel her emotions, fear, determination, and something else. A growing affection for him that mirrored his own confused feelings. They descended into the tunnels just as the first vehicles arrived above. The passage was narrow, forcing them to move in single file, illuminated only by Darius's flashlight. The air grew thick with dust and the memory of long-abandoned excavations. These tunnels were dug during the Cold War, Darius explained. Some connect to old fallout shelters. If we can reach the eastern network, there's a junction that opens near the state highway. A sudden explosion rocked the tunnel, sending dust, cascading from the ceiling. They'd blown open the bunker. They have tracker drones, Esther warned, small machines that follow energy trails. As if summoned by her thoughts, a metallic sphere the size of a baseball whirred around the corner ahead. Its single red lens focused on them, and it emitted a high-pitched signal. Darius swung his backpack, knocking the drone against the wall, but not before its beacon had activated. The tunnel behind them filled with shouts and approaching footsteps. Run! Darius grabbed Esther's hand. They sprinted through the darkness, the flashlight beam bouncing wildly ahead of them. They emerged into a larger chamber where multiple tunnels converged. Darius hesitated, trying to orient himself. There, Esther pointed to a narrow opening. Fresh air currents. As they turned toward the passage, a single shot echoed through the chamber. Darius felt a burning sensation tear through his shoulder. He stumbled, pulling Esther down with him as more shots struck the rock around them. Found them, a voice called. Sector 4B. Target is with a male human. Blood soaked through Darius's shirt. Esther's eyes widened in alarm. She placed her hand over his wound and a cooling sensation replaced the pain. "Cannot heal fully here," she communicated, "but will stop bleeding. Just need to keep moving," Darius gasped. Above them, the rocks shifted as something heavy moved across the surface. The harvesters had arrived. Escape under starlight midnight painted the desert in silver and shadow. Darius and Esther emerged from a hidden tunnel entrance behind an abandoned gas station, 10 miles from the Horizon facility. His shoulder, partially healed by Esther's touch, throbbed with dull pain. Searchlights swept the horizon behind them and the distant thrum of helicopters filled the air. "We need transportation," Darius whispered, scanning the empty highway. His truck had been compromised and they'd traveled too far on foot to return to any familiar ground. Esther swayed slightly. Her luminescence dimmed from the energy spent healing him and maintaining their bond. "Others of my kind." Nearby, she communicated, her mental voice faint. "Other messengers? Where?" She pointed skyward. Through breaks in the clouds, Darius spotted what might have been taken for shooting stars, tiny streaks of light descending in controlled arcs. "Last warning wave. Will land soon." The sound of an approaching vehicle sent them ducking behind a rusted dumpster. An old pickup truck pulled into the gas station. Its driver, a woman in her 60s with silver hair tied in a practical braid, stepped out to stretch her legs. "We could ask for help," Darius suggested. Esther's fear rippled through their bond. Dangerous for her. More dangerous for everyone if the harvesters succeed, Darius countered. He stepped forward, hands raised. "Excuse me, ma'am. We need help." The woman turned, startled, but not frightened. Her weathered face crinkled with concern at the sight of Darius's blood-stained shirt. "You're hurt, son." "Car broke down miles back," Darius lied. "My friend and I need a ride to the next town." The woman, who introduced herself as Eleanor, eyed them suspiciously but nodded toward her truck. "Hop in. I'm heading to Pinecrest, about 40 miles east." Darius helped Esther into the truck bed, where they could hide under a tarp if necessary. As they settled in, Eleanor called through the back window. "You running from something? Because I don't want trouble." Before Darius could answer, Esther placed her hand on the window separating them from Eleanor. The glass briefly illuminated, and Eleanor's expression softened. "Never mind," she said, starting the engine. "Sometimes people need help without questions." As they drove, Darius whispered, "What did you do to her?" "Shared truth. Not all. Enough to know we mean no harm." The truck rumbled along the empty highway, each mile increasing the distance from their pursuers. Esther pointed to a mountain range looming ahead. "Others will gather there. Sacred geometry of your Earth. Energy convergence. What happens when they arrive? United, we can send warning to all humankind. Pierce and harvesters cannot silence millions." A sudden explosion of light behind them illuminated the night. In the rearview mirror, Darius saw 3 black helicopters rising above the horizon, searchlights piercing the darkness. "They found us," he hissed. Eleanor accelerated without being told. "Military?" she asked, suddenly alert. "Or something worse?" "Worse," Darius confirmed. "Much worse." The helicopters gained ground rapidly. A spotlight caught their truck, holding it in a pool of harsh white light. Eleanor swerved onto a dirt road cutting through scrubland toward the mountains. "Used to smuggle contraband through these parts in my younger days," she explained with grim satisfaction. "Know every back road for 50 miles. The maneuver bought them precious minutes, but the helicopters adjusted course. One swooped low and something metallic dropped from its underbelly. "MP!" Darius shouted, recognizing the device. The pulse hit with invisible force. The truck's engine died instantly, as did Darius's phone and flashlight. They coasted to a stop in a cloud of dust. Eleanor cursed, slamming her hands against the steering wheel. "What now?" Esther stood in the truck bed, her body beginning to glow brighter than Darius had ever seen. She raised her arms to the night sky, and a pulse of energy radiated outward from her slender form. Above them, the helicopter engines sputtered and failed. The massive machines dropped like stones, their pilots barely managing controlled crash landings hundreds of yards away. In the distance, vehicles stalled on the highway. The effort cost Esther dearly. She collapsed, her light dimming. Darius climbed into the truck bed and cradled her. "Cannot maintain bond," she whispered in his mind. "Too weak now." "What can I do?" Darius asked desperately. Eleanor joined them, her eyes wide but determined. "Whatever she is, she's dying, isn't she?" Esther pointed to the mountains with a trembling hand. "Must reach convergence point before dawn." "The truck's dead," Eleanor said. "But I've got something else." She walked to the back of her truck and threw aside a tarp, revealing an old but well-maintained motorcycle. "My late husband's. Still runs on mechanical parts, no electronics to fry." Darius helped Esther onto the motorcycle and climbed on behind her, supporting her weakened form against his chest. Eleanor handed him a crumpled map. "Ridge Road," she said, pointing to a winding line. "Leads to an old fire lookout at the summit. Will that work?" Esther nodded weakly. "What about you?" Darius asked Eleanor. The older woman smiled grimly. "I'll lead them on a merry chase in the other direction. Always wanted to give the government boys a headache." As the motorcycle roared to life, Esther pressed something small and crystalline into Eleanor's palm. The woman gasped as light briefly engulfed her hand. "Protection," Esther explained. "Thank you, Earth Sister." They sped away into the night, the mountains looming ever closer. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew as the harvesters regrouped. Darius felt Esther's consciousness flickering like a candle in the wind. Dawn was approaching, painting the eastern sky with the first hints of light. They were running out of time. Beyond the horizon, first light touched the mountain peak as Darius guided the motorcycle up the final stretch of Ridge Road. The fire lookout tower stood silhouetted against the dawn sky, a skeletal structure of weathered wood and rusted metal. Esther's breathing had grown shallow, her once brilliant skin now translucent, revealing a network of light pulsing beneath. "We're here," Darius said, helping her from the motorcycle. "The convergence point." Esther stumbled, barely able to stand. "Too late," her fading voice whispered in his mind. "Harvesters already blocking others." In the distance, strange black aircraft hovered in a wide circle around the mountain range. The other messengers' ships were being intercepted before they could land. "There must be something we can do," Darius insisted, supporting her as they climbed the lookout tower's creaking stairs. At the summit platform, Esther collapsed. The dawn light revealed what the darkness had hidden. Her physical form was deteriorating, edges becoming indistinct as though she were dissolving into pure energy. "The knowledge must survive," she communicated weakly. "Even if I cannot." From below came the sound of vehicles approaching, the grinding of gears as military trucks navigated the steep terrain. Pursuers closing in. Esther reached for Darius with trembling hands. "One possibility remains. Dangerous for you." "I don't care," Darius said without hesitation. "What do we do?" "Become the beacon. Carry the message." She pressed her palms against his temples. The connection that had been growing between them suddenly expanded exponentially. Darius gasped as his consciousness exploded outward, beyond his body, beyond the mountain, beyond Earth itself. He saw the solar system from outside, witnessed the massive harvester ships hanging in the darkness beyond Mars, watched centuries of cosmic history unfold in seconds. The knowledge of the Lumina flowed into him. Their science, their history, their desperate final stand against the harvesters. Most importantly, their discovery. The harvesters could be defeated. They had a critical weakness. Their interdimensional technology relied on harmonic frequencies that could be disrupted by properly calibrated countersignals. As the transfer completed, Esther's physical form began to dissolve entirely, becoming particles of pure light. "You are the messenger now," her voice echoed, growing distant. "My essence joins with yours. Two species, one purpose." "Esther, wait." Darius reached for her, but his hands passed through light. "I don't know how to do this alone." "Not alone. Never alone again." The door to the lookout tower burst open. Director Pierce stepped onto the platform, flanked by soldiers. His face twisted with rage and disbelief as he witnessed Esther's transformation. "Stop this immediately," he commanded. "The specimen belongs to us." Behind Pierce, a tall figure, in reflective armor, materialized. A harvester, its faceless mask reflecting the sunrise in distorted fragments. "The agreement is void," it rasped in a voice like grinding metal. "You failed to secure the messenger." Pierce turned, suddenly fearful. "We can still—" The harvester's arm extended, a weapon forming from its armor. Pierce's body crumpled before he could finish his sentence. Darius felt power building within him, Esther's essence merging with his human form, creating something new. Light began to radiate from his skin, and knowledge crystallized in his mind. The harvester stepped forward, weapon raised. "The message dies here." "No," Darius replied, his voice resonating with newfound power. "It's just beginning." He raised his arms as Esther had done. Energy surged through him, forming a pillar of light that shot skyward. The harvester stumbled back, its armor cracking under the energy's assault. The soldiers dropped their weapons, shielding their eyes. Above them, the atmosphere rippled as the signal propagated outward. Not just a warning now, but the key to resistance. The black harvester ships trembled in orbit, their hulls developing fractures as the counter-frequency disrupted their dimensional anchors. Images flashed through Darius's mind, other messengers sensing the signal, adding their strength. Dormant, Lumina technology hidden on Earth for millennia activating, humans worldwide receiving fragments of understanding through dreams, inspirations, sudden insights. The harvester before him disintegrated, its armor collapsing as the entity within was pulled back to its home dimension. Around the world, the invasion force suffered the same fate. Not destroyed, but banished, their gateway to Earth sealed. As the light subsided, Darius stood transformed. His eyes now held the stars that had been Esther's, and his skin shimmered faintly with opalescent light. The soldiers backed away, weapons forgotten. "We are one now," Esther's voice whispered within him, no longer separate but part of a new consciousness, neither fully Lumina nor fully human. "What happens now?" he asked aloud, still adjusting to this dual existence. "Now we prepare. The harvesters will return with new methods. Earth must be ready." From the lookout tower, Darius watched as the rising sun illuminated a changed world. In cities across the planet, humans were waking to strange dreams and new awareness. The other Lumina messengers, no longer intercepted, were landing to find human allies of their own. Eleanor arrived at the base of the tower, having evaded her pursuers. She looked up at Darius, somehow understanding what had occurred. "They're coming," she called. "People like me who received the signal, hundreds gathering in the valley below." Darius descended to meet them, carrying both his humanity and Esther's cosmic wisdom. The convergence had begun, not just of two beings, but of two species united against extinction. As the morning sun climbed higher, Darius felt Esther's essence settle within him, their shared consciousness reaching equilibrium. They were something new now, neither one nor the other, but a bridge between worlds. "This is just the beginning," they thought together, looking toward the horizon where the first volunteers were arriving, drawn by a call they didn't yet understand, but couldn't ignore. The war for Earth's future had begun with a human who risked everything to save an alien girl, and ended with something greater than either could have become alone.